Void. Void. Las Vegas always has a way of putting on one of the wildest races of the season. Today, we'll see if we'll get a sixth different race winner, or can Dalton Kilroe try to contend for win number 3. It's time to gamble. It's Sin City. Welcome, everybody, to Las Vegas, Nevada, and to the show. My name is Ola Rambo alongside Derek Watson. We are bringing you all of racing action for the Drive Against Veterans Suicide 200 on the High Tide Racing League MF Racing Designs Premier Series. Derek, it is round number 9. Welcome to the Green Flag TV booth for the first time this afternoon. Vegas, frequently one of the wildest races on the season. Couldn't think of a better place to bring you on board.
What a beautiful track. And look at the graphic here on screen. Is 1.55 or 1.52 miles around the track. Beautiful track temp. Amazing track. One of the most quintessential NASCAR tracks on the schedule today. We race here twice a year. A beautiful, beautiful facility. And I'm happy to be here, part of this broadcast and representing this league.
We're going to take a look at those point standings entering racing action this afternoon. Dalton Kilroe making a big charge after he found himself crashed out at Daytona for the season opener. He has since powered through, the first driver to break the 300-point barrier, but he's got a lot of drivers in hot pursuit. Look at Brian Dees. Look at last season's Final Four contender, Michael Thorpe Jr. Sean Williams, a new name that we've been seeing near the top of the boards. He was around the mid-pack in Season 2. This time, though, he has been making a statement. Scott Shire still around the party. Defending champion Dustin Pink started to get his act together. He's up to the number 6 spot. And Aaron Smith, despite having the most wins on the season, still sits in 7th after missing a couple of weeks, but still very much in contention if he can keep that attendance up.
Yeah, and Aaron Smith, one of the biggest movers last week, and only moved up, I think, 4 or 5 spots in the point standing. So making a big move there. But even though that is that barrier, that 300-point ceiling or glass ceiling, if you want to call that, look at how many people are within contention here after 8 races. It speaks to the competitiveness and the talent here in this league. And so as we get ready for tonight, listen, one wreck, one moment, one opportunity could change this thing upside down before we look at it in 1 week's time.
Boy, oh boy, I mean, it's one of those racetracks, right? Anything can happen. It is regarded as one of the fastest mile-and-a-half cookie cutters on the NASCAR circuit. Far from the most treacherous. I think that honor is still reserved for the Kansas Speedway, but this one is not far off. There is just something about this place that just invites carnage and chaos. We saw a good bit of that the last few times we were out here at Vegas. Now, keeping that in mind, we were able to get in some really good green flag runs with Gen 4 machinery, but there were still some pretty vicious wrecks, and I would not put it past these guys with over 25 cars to not do the same here this afternoon. It's one of those tracks, right? You can run, you sure can't hide.
No, this track is full of tricks and full of small things like that. Listen, the 9-degree banking on both the front and the back straight makes it a little bit more tedious to get around than some other tracks. That big apron down on the bottom where drivers are going to want to get down there and pass. It's impossible to get back up sometimes. And that 20-degree banking in the corners makes this track a little bit more dangerous than it looks. Listen, for once, Nolan, what happens in Vegas won't stay in Vegas. We're all going to see it live here on the broadcast.
And this will have ripples all the way throughout the rest of the regular series season. This is kicking off the second half of the regular series season. And I think now it's countdown to playoffs. And a lot of drivers are going to have that in the back of their minds. I think playtime's over. You can't afford to make mistakes from here on out. You've got to have a good show, especially if you're still on the outside of the top 10 looking in.
Oh, yeah. Consistency has to be the name of the game. Listen, unlike other formats, Nolan, there's no winning in. There's no guarantees here. You have to fight, scrap, grapple for every point you can find in this league, and that's what these drivers are going to do. The schedule upcoming is not an easy one. You know, listen, we're using the NASCAR Xfinity cars. It's maybe not the easiest car to drive of, you know, the NASCAR vehicles in iRacing. So there'll be a lot of drama to follow in these next few races.
Qualifying has drawn to a close, as has the drivers' meeting. 35 cars are going to be representing this field here when we get set to roll to the green flag. That is an astronomical number here, Derek. The biggest field size we've had has been 36 cars. That was seen at Daytona International Speedway for the season opener, and a few have come close to rivaling it. Richmond, Chicago, and both within 6 cars of that number. And I think this is the closest we've come ever since the opener.
Well, I'd like to think they showed up for me, Nolan, but it's probably not the case. But I'm excited to see that many cars here. It'll provide lots of battles up and down the track. There'll be battles for every spot on this track as we see the cars now have taken to the grid.
Most of the cars, of course, have taken to the grid. You see Benjamin Lacey just hop into his car. Tony Hilbrand's lining up on the outside of row number 2. Still waiting on Connor Gibson, Tanamar, Dalton Kilroe, and John Osborne. And we're going to do something a little different today instead of going straight down to the starting grid. Of course, we are racing here today on Veterans Day, or Remembrance Day, for those racing out of Canada. And this race this afternoon has been brought to us by Mission 22. Mission 22, of course, is a non-profit organization which has dedicated themselves to providing extensive personalized support to help veterans and their families thrive, which includes monitoring stress, sleep, activity levels, exercise programs, meditations, and coaching, and so much more. This field's going to start to get into formation here because, unfortunately, Jonathan Canfield has recently had a good friend that has become a part of that unfortunate statistic where Mission 22 gets their name from. So today, before the green flag, HTRL is going to honor his friend and fallen veterans everywhere with a three-wide salute in a missing man formation, with Canfield leading this field.
Yeah, Canfield lost his brother in service, Sergeant Jacob Barris, and wanted to spend some time tonight honoring Sergeant Barris. And not only that, but just any veteran, any person who has served or is serving, Nolan, we say thank you to those people. And this is a beautiful way, and one of the few ways that members of iRacing gets to have that special moment of honoring friends, family, loved ones, or special people all the way around.
So the iRacing pace car is going to lead the field through turn numbers 3 and 4. The field is getting themselves formed on up. We are now going to take a little step back. We're going to take this lap in silence as we also do our part in the broadcast booth to remember the fallen. So with the field coming across the start-finish line, this salute will draw to a close, and we'll reset things and take a rundown of what this grid's going to look like over the next 135 laps. Started on pole position, it's going to be Austin Edstrom alongside Michael Thorpe Jr. Austin McGill starts in third with Tony Hilbrand's back at the number 4 spot. Benjamin Lacey, Scott Shire on road number 3. Dustin Ping and Hunter Karsten for row 4 with Ty Marasco and Matthew Chastain closing out the top 10.
Moving back into row 6, we'll see Zachary Wareham and Connor Gibson with Bob Berry and Brian Dees 13th and 14th in row 7. Jonathan Canfield and Michael Keithley back there 15 and 16. P17 Larry Bell, P18 Derek Polson, and then rounding out this group of 10 is Kevin Foster and Sean Williams back at row number 10.
From there, it's going to be Tanamar and Paul Satmar to kick off the back half of the field. Dalton Kilroe, Nita Sikorsky alongside them. Then it's Jason Greenwell, David Lakey, William Turnbull, Jocelyn Guzik, Terrell Baker, and John Osborne.
We'll move on back through the field here. See the last name to screen: Jason Greenwell, David Lakey, Will Turnbull, Dawson Brusick, Tyrell Baker, John Osborne. And then we got the others here as we round up this car field here as we go about to go green. Nolan, we'll get to their cars in a minute. But man, look at this. We're about to go green already.
It's a very quick formation lap this afternoon. The field's working through the front straightaway. We're happy you're joining us on Monday night. From Sin City, it's go, go, go from Vegas. Coming off of turn number 4 already, Austin Edstrom under fire for the race lead from outside. Pulls into Michael Thorpe Jr. He will still lead lap number 1 to the stripe.
There you go. Beautiful side-by-side battle now down here. Dug into turn 1. Look at that bottom lane that car's riding there, the 87, doing a beautiful job holding that white line. Gets out there and tracks out. That'll allow him to get the maximum speed out of that corner. Now they're going to dig in the corner here. Now, as we'll talk about multiple times tonight, Nolan, one of the reasons I love Vegas, this is not a single groove racetrack. There's probably about 5 different lanes available for these drivers to take.
Oh, absolutely. It is not a bottom lane racetrack at all. This is one of those places where you can make moves no matter what lane of the track you're running on. You just got to know how to run that lane. Right now, good chunk of the top 10 still running single file, hugging the bottom side. Tony Hilbrand's trying to challenge for the number 2 spot further up the grid. And deeper in the field, looking for a little bit of 3 wide on the approach to turn 3. They're going to get it doubled out, though, before they hit the back straightaway.
3 wide's not undoable here, Nolan. It's something you can definitely make happen if you're aware of your surroundings. In fact, it'll happen right there, almost 4 wide now at the stripe.
And Dawson Guzik getting into the side there of Tanner Marr down the front stretch through the tri-oval, nearly coming to blows. Further up the grid, you got Connor Gibson, you got Sean Williams, Zachary Wareham, and more all under a blanket. There's the 75 car. Bob Berry still tracking to the outside. I think right now, when these tires are fresh, bottom line's the place to be. But over the next 30 or so laps, we're going to see that line migrating further and further up the racetrack to the second groove.
Yeah, we'll see it migrate up, and we'll talk about the positives and negatives as the night goes on, because there are a couple of negatives to moving up there, and one of them being gas consumption. It's not the shortest way around the track. You'll burn a little bit more gas up there than you will than your competitors, so we'll focus on that as the night goes on. But look at this battle here, the 6 now wants to try to get up here on the bottom of the groove, does, and they're side by side here. Let's see what happens out of the corner, Nolan. Is he going to slide it up? He is. That's going to be a good old classic Dale Jr. slide job here at Vegas.
Ty Marasco giving up time to Derek Paulson. Marasco started up in the top 10. He has dropped 3 positions already in the first 6 laps, so not the most ideal of starts for Marasco. He does have Team MFRD teammate Brian Dees situated just behind him, though. Potentially they could link up and get something working for them, though. But they're in a bit of a hornet's nest right now, so they just can't get away.
I'll tell you what, if you're that one car, as we were coming out there from turn 1, Nolan, we saw on the onboard camera a little bit of a smooch up there against the wall. You can't do that too often here. That wall will bounce you off and do horrible things to this car. So luckily it went okay, but now he's under attack from the car on the bottom, that blue, the number 17, who's now going to come through. And man, I know we have the honor tonight, Nolan, of being here on Veterans Day and commentating and doing the pre-race salute. But how many red, white, and blue cars can there be? This is really awesome to see this league turn out and salute in this manner.
Well, there's a lot of cars out here that are sporting the red, white, and blue, and even you got some of the Canadians, they're spotting good old poppies on those cars as well. I mean, you take a look back, Zachary Wareham got a nice big poppy on the hood of that number 88. That's, of course, a more Canadian tradition for a poppy field from the Great War back in 1918, where this holiday comes from Armistice Day. So everybody's able to recognize this tradition in their own manner, and it's really awesome to see such a broad spread. And I tell you what, for red, white, and blue, they do a good job of distinguishing which car is which. They do look awesome.
Yeah, isn't that like a commentator's nightmare sometimes to have a moment like this and have too many red, white, and blue cars? Like, what's that blue car? And you're trying to do it from the top, and you're like, I'm going to take a guess at this. But yeah, they're doing a great job. You're looking at still some 3 wide right. So hold on. Spun out and clean. We're going to stay green for the moment, and he's got that thing mostly saved. We got it spun. That's a full 360. Nolan, in the Olympics, that's working like a 7.2 on the judges' scorecard.
Yeah, I'll count that as a save. He kept it off the inside wall. That probably should have been a big crash into the inside fence. And, of course, manual cautions in HTRL. Nothing done by iRacing. And by their rules, single car spin off the racing groove. Why throw the yellow and slow everybody down when there's no threat to drivers on the racetrack?
But if we watch this wreck from a car who he spun in front of, I bet they think there was a threat on the racetrack. Look at this. Well, pretty clear, actually, but I've been in that spot before, Nolan. When that car spins in front of you, reaction time is at a minimum.
And this was brought about by Michael Keithley here. He is the driver that ran over the back of that 25 car. Watch the 25. I think he just got loose and slipped up the racetrack. Yeah,
a little slow out of the corner and maybe a bad checkup from the car behind who just didn't know any better. And off he went. But we're going to stay green for now. As Nolan said here, working lap number 11. Got some beautiful side-by-side battles. Thorpe Jr., Michael Thorpe Jr. is still your leader up there. And look at this battle here. No, one thing I've noticed so far, Nolan, no one's really using that apron. I am stunned. No one's trying to cut a little distance off the track and get down on that apron on the front straight. I would definitely be down there gaining time while the tires are fresh.
You wonder if potentially that's trying to conserve a bit of tires as well, because there's only 3 tire changes you get in the pits here. That's not too much when you're pitting every 30 laps or so. They might be short a set of tires or be dangerously close to it, so they might be trying to conserve that where, well, as we say, Dustin Payne, the defending champion, ducks down to the inside and flips that apron.
I mean, there is a conversation to be had about tire wear as you get up close to the wall, but that's why you want to do it early when the tires are fresh. As these tires wear off, that apron will get a little bit more slick, a little bit more slippery, a little bit more dangerous. But man, as a race car driver, you got to go down there and find every advantage you possibly can. So I'm a little surprised. We'll see if it gets maybe going as the night goes on. Here's an onboard with Connor Gibson. See here, a beautiful onboard. See those simplistic dash displays we get in the Xfinity Series. Not the full digital dash we're used to seeing on Sunday afternoons in the Cup cars.
Of course, all of the digitization of what you see now in the modern day Cup cars. So point of controversy, I would imagine, for quite a few of the stock car purists. But I mean, let's be honest, these cars they're about as stock as a Top Fuel dragster is. I mean, these are purebred race cars. They're designed to do one thing and one thing only: race at the racetrack. The only thing stock, maybe the body templates you can make a bit of an argument for, but for the time being, still a lot of single file all throughout the racetrack. This is Dalton Kilroe. He's got Ty Marasco on his outside. Marasco, with a little bit of right rear damage on that number 1 car now.
A little bit, maybe tagged a wall or got bumped in part of the heavy drafting part of the race. We'll wait and see if we can find it later, but beautiful 2x2 racing here. And then so there's that 88 car on the bottom, and representing a veteran of their, oh man, he's loose. Look at that slide right there. Anytime you see a car slide out like that from this distance of a camera, I guarantee you it felt about 22 times worse in the driver's seat than you or I can imagine.
You saw him doing some wheel work through the windscreen of that car. Had a very close shave, not to fully loop that car around. Why not? We'll try to see if we can maybe get an onboard here with Zachary Wareham. And, well, this will be coming down the back straightaway towards 3 and 4. But you're going to see this car almost snap out from underneath him coming off of 4.
Now, watch this wheel movement. The orange line technically is in the middle of the car, but watch this car. It's probably going to go back and forth. There it is. Yep, there's that little bit. Every time that car's turning right, that's not a good sign. This is not dirt racing, Nolan. We're not turning right to go left. So if you have to turn right in a stock car, that means you're trying to correct something that you're not happy about.
Well, dirt racing can be beneficial in this type of race when you get to those types of situations. A lot of that has to do with throttle control as well. If you just pin the throttle there, you're going to shoot that car around on you, but it can't just lift out either, because then all the weight shifts to the front, and then you're going to be finding yourself spinning down into the infield regardless. You got to really feather that throttle, kind of keep it in check as you come off of the corner. He did a great job of hanging on to that race car. It has dropped him back to 17th, but still early and plenty of time to recover.
I'll tell you what, if you want to go dirt racing, let's just go next door to the bull ring and we'll settle it there. This isn't the track I want to do it at. I'll pass on that opportunity. But I was going to say here, you mentioned it briefly, 88, Zachary Wareham's wearing that paint scheme. That's in honor of George Lloyd Sparks, a Canadian World War II veteran. Is who Zachary is honoring tonight with that paint scheme. So thank you to Zachary for being out here representing and bringing awareness. But back up towards the front we are now. It's Thorpe Jr., McGill, and Edstrom, 1, 2, and 3, right there in the same camera shots. But Thorpe has a slight advantage, and in fact, is really, I mean, about a 1/10 of a second faster than second and third per lap.
They're doing a good job on keeping Thorpe honest up the road. Michael Thorpe Jr. is one of those drivers that he just hasn't had the luck fall into play. He has been able to get some good pace going, though, over the last 2 weeks. Has managed to claw his way through after what was a rocky start to his season. And now well in contention for some of those playoff positions within the top 10. See if that number 34 can maintain that pace. For now, he's got McGill and Austin Edstrom right up the back bumper. Edstrom, of course, comes into this race making his debut just last week at the Darlington Raceway after he was the second chair throughout all of season number 1. And, well, for Austin, it's been a good drive for him. He made a good splash early on, was contending for a win, got himself a nice podium to cap things off for his debut in competition. I'm not surprised, though. I mean, he's raced with a good chunk of these guys in a different league elsewhere on Sunday nights. So Austin has a lot of that advantage that most new guys don't, in that he is very experienced with how a good chunk of this field races.
Wow, that car slid up in front and right there, very close. Look at almost bump drafting here at Vegas. Not a word I thought we'd use tonight, but there it is. But you're right, Austin's doing a great job, coming out from the booth in season 1 and competing here. But now as these drivers are side by side, Nolan, what's going to happen is they're going to slow each other up a little bit, and Michael Thorpe Jr. is going to slowly walk away here if they stay side by side. So if you right now are Edstrom, you need to make that pass and do it soon, which is a good job right there, and get it done. Now, here they are again side by side. As I said, right now this will allow Thorpe to be faster. In fact, last time by, he's a 31.765, and McGill is a 31.813. So, doing a great job here is Thorpe. And I talked to Thorpe earlier, Nolan. He told me he thinks he can do great here. He says this track has always been great to him. He thinks that the key to this track is throttle control, and he thinks he's good at it. So he's expecting good results here tonight. And right now, he's got the best result possible up in P1.
Ooh. Austin McGill with a huge tank slapper coming off at turn number 4. He'll lose about 0.3 of a second there to Austin Edstrom and quickly give up the fight. A close shave there for that 99. Nearly put that thing in the wall.
Yeah, and listen, that's great luck for McGill. This track is the type of track that typically when you hit the wall here, you sort of bounce off like a pinball. I always say in iRacing, there's 2 types of tracks. There's huggers and there's bouncers. Watch this here from the 99 on the bottom of the track. Gets it loose. You see it right there. Whoa, buddy. Actually didn't hit the wall at all, but still, man, got that saved. And that's a difficult task in iRacing. You think it should be simple, but it's not. That's a great save there. If you come back in the pack here, we'll see a nice 4 or 5 car battle right here in the middle of the track.
Most of the field single file. 1 car in the back there is all over the shot. That, I think, was Ty Marasco having a near miss on the back straightaway. That was a weird moment. He was kind of weaving left and right all over the place, almost like he got himself a little unsettled. Maybe a bit arrow loose from his teammate Dalton Kilroe behind him. Just couldn't really get that car settled down. It is worth noting as well, we're getting low on those fuel tanks, so the weight of these cars is significantly less than at the start of this race. We're less than 10 laps away from pit stops.
Yeah, within the High Tide Racing League, we have this limit on the gassing of 70% of fuel. So it does allow for a style of racing where we're going to have to pit more often. But you're right, when that weight gets off these cars, they're a little faster, they're a little more slick, a little bit more loose, a little bit more light through the corner, and you'll see that repetitively. Man, look at that pile of cars right there. I think if you were Matt Malone, you'd call that a gaggle, I believe.
I'd certainly call it the gaggle right now, and this gaggle stretches from Larry Bell up in 18th all the way back to about Ethan Sikorsky back in 26th at the tail of the field. So there is a good number of cars, almost 10, packed up a line astern in this fight. Bob Berry sits just over a second up the road. I think this is just one of those drafting trains that we just haven't seen break apart yet. And a lot of these cars, you can tell how much they're pushed, but you just saw the 23 of Tanner Martin kick the tail end out, coming off turn number 4, giving the right rear some air. It's one of those situations, though, it's really difficult to try to brake clear because the tires just won't allow it at this point in time.
Well, and you also have to ask yourself the question, Nolan, do you want to break free, right? Listen, when we go to Daytona, we go to Dig, and we talk about drafting, we talk about fuel consumption and fuel conservation when you're doing that process. In a league where the fuel tanks are limited to 70%, why would I not want to be breaking free? Why would I just want to sit behind this driver and save some fuel? I might get an extra lap or two. And in the grand scheme of pit stops here at Vegas, that may mean something later in this race. So maybe I don't want to break free. Maybe I'm happy saving fuel this early in the race.
I can't exactly complain about that either. I mean, it's a viable strategy. We have seen it work out in other leagues where they have those types of fuel restrictions. I think the fact that you do have these fuel restrictions, it almost makes these races a little bit more predictable as well about where we can expect to see drivers coming in. That said, though, the last mile-and-a-half race we had at Kentucky, we didn't see the usual trend where you get a bunch of cars that just come pitting into one big line. It was very spread out. You got about 3 or 4 one lap, 4 or 5 the next lap, maybe 6 or 7 the next lap after that. And they spread what was supposed to be about a 3-lap pit window out to about 5 or 6, depending on different drivers that were saving fuel. Well, we got one sideways off of turn number 4, sliding to pit road, and that is Ty Marasco's number 1.
I don't think that's scheduled. I think that was a sort of a forced pit stop there by Ty Marasco. We'd have to wait and see what that looks like for him, but he is down pit road. I want to check real quick the stewards. No black flags, so that's a good entry on the pit road. I thought for sure he came in a little hot watching here.
He was coming in. He was hard on the brakes.
Wow, just a little late. That's what he was. And hey, he made it, so it's hard to criticize it, but I think we were surprised because of how late that entry was. But great job there. And we're back live here on track. Sorry, that's not live. That's the same replay, just from a different angle. And he made the commitment line. He made all the good moves, but that's later than I'd want to break here for a pit stop at Vegas. But he rolled the dice, and it worked out.
And talk about attacking pit road. That's one of the most aggressive pit entries you can have at this racetrack. The only reason why that worked is because there was nobody directly behind him that was either pitting or trying to get around him. That could have easily gone very wrong, though, the other way. It's dangerous to be pitting that hard when you're on the racing line.
Now, what I'm excited to see when all is said and done here, Nolan, is what does that mean for his pit delta compared to others? I show in timing and scoring, he spent about 40 seconds on pit road. That's line to line. That's not just a pit stop. Because there's a lot of time to be gained and lost on pit road as a driver with how you enter and how fast you enter and how aggressive you are. So listen, if he makes that kind of aggressive move and to say his pit delta is 2 seconds faster on pit road, that will mean something to him later in this race. We'll keep an eye on that as we're watching the battle for 8th.
Tony Hilbrand's leading the way. Derek Paulson back in 9th. Gibson, Dees, Williams. And you can throw Kilburn into the mix as well. He's just hanging on to the tail end of this one as well. About a 6-car scrap. Hilbrand's trying to pull a gap, and Connor Gibson's not making it easy on both him or Derek Paulson on the bid to try to catch up to that number 92 for the Hilbrand Motorsports crew. Whoa, to the outside. Brian Dees getting the aggressive on the top shelf of 4.
Wow, beautiful move there out, as you said, on the top shelf of the track here, trying to make it happen. Now a small line for him. Nope, never mind. I started to say a line, but now they're side by side again. So scratch that thought out of my head, as it's not going to happen here. But now we're hearing more toxic pitting, including Connor Gibson coming down pit road.
Some more drivers opting to come down to the lane. We are right at the start of pit road. There's Connor Gibson. He's going to be attacking pit road quite aggressively or trying to make it down. He will do so successfully. Dustin Ping, defending champion, along with Michael Keithley, are also in a pit road this time by.
So we'll wait and see how this works out. Is it maybe turn out that pitting with a partner at a quasi-draft fest is going to work out better for you? That's a good question. Or does it work out better for a Ty Marasco who did it alone and had nothing but clean track ahead of him? You see the car going up on the right side there, Nolan. Everyone, I suspect, will be 4 tires and gas on this first pit stop.
Not a lot of cars going in with them, so quite a few of these people are pitting earlier as opposed to the rest of the field. Coming down to pit road now, Paul Satmary going to get hard on the binders with that number 24 entry. And now Gibson, Ping, Keithley on their way out of pit road. You've also got Dawson Guzik that had also come down to pit road, and he is actually going to be a lap down now in that 44 car.
Yeah, so we'll see if he can get that back later through the process, through waiver rounds or lucky dogs or whatever process is available to him. But man, lots of cars here. Now our leader, most of our leaders, Michael Thorpe Jr., Edstrom, Karsten, McGill, Lacey, Chastain, Hillbrands, everyone. This pit road is now busy as a McDonald's drive-thru.
Only the top 8 staying out on the racetrack. That's Shire, Dees, Kilroe, Marr, Wareham, Canfield, Corey Sherman, and Osapek that have stayed out on the racetrack. Everyone else is in this time. Pit road's a busy, busy place. And there you see Terrell Baker and William Turnbull making their way out of pit road. Now, of course, the race off of pit road. Austin Edstrom trying to beat Thorpe to the punch. Not going to get it done, but he is right on the back bumper as well. Austin Edstrom with a huge gain of time in the pits.
Now, what I like about these drivers staying out now, more coming down this time. Kilroe is down, Wareham is down, Tanner Marr. So just 2 people left, Brian Dees and Nick Osapek are the last 2 to pit. Listen, I love stretching out this first run, by the way, Nolan. I love this move because now it gives you more flexibility for the rest of the race. It gives you more options of what to do as this race goes on. And we'll see when they finally do come down and pit here and what happens with it here live in Vegas.
So right now, Thorpe and Edstrom, the battle for the net race lead. Here you can get your next pack of cars slowly making their way back out onto the racetrack. Brian Dees and Nick Osapek both have come in this time by, so that will conclude the first pit stop window of the afternoon. Estimated window was looking to be around 36, 38 laps or so, but they were actually able to get in a good, decent number of laps on top of that. Have been a couple of speeding penalties, though, in the meantime, while all that was going on. Hunter Carson for the number 13 car got caught with speeding. He was held for a lap, and it's been the same for William Turnbull. Turnbull got caught on exits, so he's had to come back down to pit road, which is arguably a much bigger mistake than Hunter Karsten, who just got caught on entry, so he can serve it while taking the service.
Yeah, both those are pretty tough penalties to swallow, so they'll need a caution or 2 or 3 to get back involved in this race. They'll likely both be a lap down after those penalties. We're back on track here. This is the number 34 machine. That's Michael Thorpe Jr. Remember, I asked him earlier when we were talking about winning versus points, and he said to me, points are more important to me. I want to win tonight, but I know points are more important. So he said, even though I'd like to go for a win, I have to points race. So we'll see what happens here if he gets stuck in a spot and what happens. But right now, Michael Thorpe has been, I guess, the head of the class. He's taken up residency here at the front of the track.
Austin Edstrom may very well be trying to do both. He might be trying to race points and go for wins. He enters this race, of course, 8 races late to the game. That's an extremely tall order then to get yourself into the top 10. My personal opinion, I think he's already out of that championship fight. But if he can put down some solid race wins and continue to just take away top 5s, it's not outside of the realm of possibility. There's been stranger things that have happened.
No, it's not out of the possibility. What he has to focus on is points racing. Listen, sometimes as a race car driver, you have to make a decision in a moment about, am I aggressive? Do I go for the win? Or do I sit back and finish second or third and get my points? For Edstrom, in a format where there is no win and end, he's going to have to, more likely than not, take the second of those 2 options and, just race here as hard as he can and get those points. But not impossible, but you're right. It's a tall, tall mountain to climb here. But an amazing run in P2 here, and now they're coming up on lap traffic.
Check back in on this fight if it gets any closer than this. For now, they're side by side for 12th and 13th as Dalton Kilroe trying to get around Dustin Ping on the high side, and he will clear for that spot. Coming down towards turn number 1. So the biggest chance for there to be a green flag, or a yellow flag, sorry, is in the very first stint of the race. That's when everybody's packed up underneath each other. You don't have anybody a lap down. Everybody's racing at some of the most aggressive you'll see all race long. Now that we've gotten through a full pit stop stint, how likely is it that this race goes caution-free? They managed to do it once already at Kentucky this year.
Yeah, it's obviously more and more likely. The cars get more and more spread out. But then you start to ask yourself right now, the thing that happens right now is, hey, we're back on new tires. This thing feels great. It's the best car you ever driven. You kind of forget what it was like 5 laps ago on old tires. And you can kind of fool yourself into thinking oh, that won't happen again. That was a one-time thing where I was loose, you know, at the end of the first stint. So the most likely spot probably to find your caution here, if it happens, is going to be right around those pit cycles. Where someone making a mistake, someone trying to clear themselves for pit road, or someone on old tires who's just trying to stretch it a little too far. But boy, speaking of contact, he's almost up there from the 21.
Marshall Crocker Jr. right now is a man on a mission. He is up 18 spots. By far the hard chargers so far of the race. The only other two cars that are within double digits of Crocker are Dalton Kilra and Corey Sherman, up 11 and 10 respectively. But Crocker starts this race all the way back from 29th on the grid, and he has fought his way up into the top 15. That is not nothing for this number 21 Camaro. Sure, he might, you wonder, could he be further up the field? But this is still a lot better than running down at the tail end.
Oh, that's a great feeling. And listen, those are the kind of things as a driver you have to hang your hat on. You have to be able to find some positives, some accomplishments, some achievements, if you will, mid-race, and talk to yourself up here and say, hey, I'm doing great. I'm up 21 spots, or I mean, not 21 spots. I'm up 18 spots, so I'm in 14. And you know, those are the things you have to hang your hat on to build that motivation and that everything as this race goes on. Look at that speed here out of the corner, 174, 175 here, up out of the corner, down this 9-degree banked back straight here at Vegas.
I feel like this track doesn't do a good job of conveying the speeds that you can hit here, right? Because, I mean, those speeds of 185 miles an hour or so, those are the same speeds that you're hitting at Daytona in a full pack, and you're doing it here without restrictor plates. That does a great job of showing just how rapid these cars can actually be when you turn them loose.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of the fact we're not pack racing like we do at Daytona, so you kind of lose that feeling of speed. And honestly, for a track that has all the fanfare of Vegas, all the lights and the neon lights and the entertainers and everything, with respect, the track doesn't have any kind of visual effect tricks to make you see it. Like some tracks will have kind of the waves in the grass on the infield, or have a bunch of markings on the outside wall, a bunch of sponsors, if you will, and that kind of helps give you that illusion of speed. And here it's just kind of, I don't want to say bland, I don't want to disrespect the track, but it's a little more plain than some of the tracks we see across the schedule.
I think you have to, we can put a large part of that to the scenery around it, right? I mean, we're in the middle of the Mojave Desert. There's not exactly a whole lot to look at beyond the track grounds. I mean, you got, of course, the 4-wide NHRA drag strip, and like you said, the bull ring just next door on the same property. It's difficult, though, right? Trying to, you know, get some of that visual spectacle in. You could give the same argument, I think, to Kansas or Kentucky as well. You know, they're in the middle of the prairie states. There's, flat track for miles around. Then you get to other tracks like Atlanta, Georgia, with those absolutely massive grandstands. Charlotte Motor Speedway with all of those painted walls with the red, white, and blue from America's home for motorsports. It's just a different atmosphere. You can tell this is one of those racetracks, though. They didn't go after visual spectacle. They aimed to make a track that races good. And in doing that, they have definitely succeeded on this place.
Oh yeah, this place is a beautiful facility with its own rights. I mean, they've had many plans for it. They've renovated it. You know, a lot of the infield of this track in 2006 was renovated. The media center was renovated. Some of the garage, now they call it the Neon Garage. It's all lit up at night. Buy some extra passes to go in there. And this track is used for lots of things, Nolan, as we see this battle on track. And that was close right there, as that white and blue car get a little loose up out of the corner. But this track used every year for the Electric Daisy Carnival. Well, not if you're an EDM fan, but you can come here every year and go to an EDM festival at the Vegas Motor Speedway.
I've never heard of it before. I had no idea they used this place for anything else.
They used it for that. Back in 2020, it was used for a high school graduation during COVID. And in fact, new this year, now at night here, they turn the lights on and they bring in food carts and do a food festival here some weekends.
Didn't the AMA Supercross series come down here a couple years ago for racing the infield?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. When they were looking for tracks, they did this one. They've done Atlanta, obviously, and a few more. But yeah, this track well used. Of course, Indy cars run here in the past. It's been a well-used track, obviously, so it gets its fair use throughout the year. In fact, now the World Long Drive Championships happen here in the infield of the tracks. Golfers come out here and see how long they can shoot a golf ball through the infield of this track.
So they did not use Las Vegas Motor Speedway. They used the drag strip as part of the Supercross Championship for this year. I thought they would use the infield, but it says the strip at Las Vegas, so that would be the 4-wide drag strip that's just next door. So, well, the more you know. I didn't think that was a viable option with that facility.
Yeah, it's sort of the same. Now, obviously, it's one of the more infamous drag strips on the NHRA circuit that I know of. But yeah, you're right. I'm just kind of surprised to hear they're using that. But man, look at this battle on track right here. We're watching in the camera shot as we're talking about this facility. These two drivers are having at it, just going back and forth and passing and going up and down the track. That's the number 92 machine right there, Nolan. And he is maybe burning up a little too much tires for my likeness this early in this run.
Now, Tony Hilbrand's not a driver that's been known to back down very frequently. He is in a huge fight at the moment with Dalton Kilroe as they work their way over turn numbers 3 and 4. And they've both been catching quite steadily up to Connor Gibson. Gibson, of course, a car that pitted 3 laps earlier to these two drivers behind. So we got some good advantage on fresh rubber. And now he has started to just have to manage those older tires throughout the rest of this green flag run. All of this, and we're past the halfway point of this second green flag stint here. So pit stops again, they're never too far away when you have 70% fuel tank limitations. Scott Shire and Matthew Chastain exchanging spots just up the road. And then it's been a no man's land for 3rd and 4th. Thorpe, though, still keeping even with Austin Edstrom just behind. Haven't really seen too much gain or loss from Edstrom. I think Austin here is just trying to manage that gap.
Yeah, and that may be the right move here. So we're only about halfway through, and I think only about, this thing's been moving at a pretty great pace here. But yeah, we're about halfway through, so there's no need to show your cards yet. You know, a great poker player knows when to kind of put everything on the table and say, hey, you know, let's make it happen. But right now, this is not the time for that to occur here. And so we're about close to our second round of pit stops. I said a second ago that the 92 was burning tires too much into a run. I looked up, oh man, we're not that far from our second round of pit stops.
You don't have to be as conservative with the tires when you're pitting a little bit sooner. But again, the concern gets down to, will you have enough sets to make the distance? And I think we will, because we're going to get this pit stop right, I think, just past the halfway. That would leave one tire. Whoa! Hilbrand's real crossed up out of turn 4. But that would leave, kind of doing the math here, that would leave one set of tires left for another pit stop around the 75% distance of this race. You should be getting to the end. The problem, that doesn't leave with a lot of wiggle room if a caution comes out late.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. I was thinking the same thing. I was trying to do the math in my head, and I'm a driver who likes to have an extra set of tires for that last run, if you have one, maybe a last 10 lap dash. Watch this here right now. Hold on. That's the one car on the inside. It just kind of tugged the wall there and just kind of left his little signature on it. It's John Hancock on the wall there out of 2. But all is good. We stay green once again here. Tell you what, the lack of yellows, Nolan, has not been for lack of effort. There's been plenty of effort maybe to put a yellow out by accident, but right now we're all doing good here. And that was just right in front of Ty Maraska. Saw that happen.
And the green flag run has not upset the entertaining factor of this race either. There has been battles everywhere throughout this racetrack. You mentioned it at the top of the show about how great this track is for carrying a lot of these battles into the long haul. And we're seeing that right now because this fight here for about 13th, it's been like this ever since the drop of the green flag, even through a whole pit stop cycle. And it's not going anywhere anytime soon either.
Oh heck, the pit stop cycle was exciting. Remember that whole hot entry by the one car, right? It didn't calm down there either. So it's been a pretty great race through and through here. And this is what I love. I said earlier in the beginning about 35 car fields. Everyone's not battling for the lead. You know, that's not the reality of a track like Vegas. It's going to spread out. And you can see the intervals on the left side of the screen, but everyone's fighting for something, right? I mean, up and down the field, we may be 17 seconds apart down to 20th, but those guys back in 20th are fighting for a spot. That's the fun of this track, and this track has provided history over time, you know, positive history, negative history, some moments that maybe auto racing we'd like to forget have happened at this track, but for right now, these drivers tonight, this is purely a positive moment. And again, hold on, this is worse. That's worse for Ty Maraska than the first pit entry, Nolan.
And that might have given him a speeding penalty as well. That might have been where he was locking it up. No
black flag yet. So right now, that's good. But man, Ty Marasco and the pit road at Vegas are not really on a first-name basis right now.
He's a lot more aggressive this time and getting it onto the apron. Oh, just caught some of that wheel hop on the front end, and I think he kind of panicked a little bit when he hit pit road. I'll give it credit, the spin did slow him down enough that he was able to get him back down before the next time in line, which would have given him that speeding penalty. But that's cost him, that's costed him at least 3 seconds right there in that pit stop alone.
Yeah, pit delta here is 44 seconds. Remember last time I said it was at 40, so that's 4 seconds on pit road. And the average kind of math we use unofficially, Nolan, is about, was it 1 second on pit road is 2 seconds on the track. So he could fall back at about 8 seconds back from where he was before in that moment. So we'll see where he cycles out. He's going to pit first, so maybe that little bit of clean air will help a little bit here. But now let's move back. That's the 17 of Brian Dees in the middle of your picture here. And let's see how he battles. He's got Michael Keithley in front of him and Marshall Crocker Jr. behind him on the track.
He's got Tony Hilbrands and Sean Williams up the road exchanging blows as well. As Keith coming to pit road, he was really low on the track down turn 3. Clipped the seam. He is going to track out, though, and stay on the racetrack.
Wow, I thought so, too. He was down there like he was looking, but maybe just having a hard time holding onto this car. Remember, as Nolan said earlier, right now the tires are worn out, the gas is low, the back end is up in the air a little bit more and loose. And I do believe, Nolan, I said earlier, of the 3 major NASCAR series on iRacing, that'd be the Cup Series, the Xfinity, and the trucks. This is by far the hardest car to drive. This is a driver's type of car. You know, a lot of people really come to this league and to this car because of how difficult it is. And you can see moments of it like that right there that prove that point.
Tony Hilbrandt's trying to find some long run pace here, looking for the outside of Sean Williams. This right here, the battle for the number 10 position. Could he have a look here down to turn 3? No dice. He's going to back off. He might be trying to set himself up for pit road. Right in front of them, you got Connor Gibson in that number 31 machine as well. Hilbrandt's loose out of turn 4. He'll save it.
Ooh, a lot of cars drifting up there out of 4, and it's really what happens when you get up there and you get that loose. And I'm kind of surprised how well they're doing. It's the correct thing to do when you get up that loose, Nolan, is you'd have to get up there and kind of get off the gas and let the car correct itself. And that's not the intuition we have as race car drivers. Our first intuition is want to slam on the gas and make it be better. But that's not how typically you save a loose race car or a tight race car. You need to be off the gas and just kind of wait for it to happen. Look at this beautiful camera shot. That's pretty cool to see. Inside the car, you can see the gap that exists or doesn't exist between the drivers. As we come around again here, we are now lap 70 of 135.
Tony Hilbrandt's down on the inside. This is with Brian Dees. And you see that 92 car try to track up from the inside. He is clear, and no, not quite. Dees with the charge down the Nellis straightaway. Able to get back to the right rear quarter panel. That outside lane, it's been rubbing in now, and it's started to come into play, and we can see it in work big time here. Almost contact out of turn 4.
By the way, the interesting thought, that car behind him, that's Marshall Crocker Jr. holding a car down pit road. But that is Marshall Crocker Jr. behind him, Nolan. He has a live spotter in this race. The only car to have it, it is Marshall Crocker, presumably senior, his father. So his dad right now has got to be freaking out, trying to call these spots here. He's like, they're loose. No, hold on, they're loose again. No, just kidding. That's a busy night for a spotter right there, isn't it?
It's always a busy night when you go green flag for this long, especially when you're in this tight of a field. Now, how about that? That was a beautiful cutback to the inside. Baited Hilbrandt into taking a lower line and was able to get the over-under on him coming out of turn number 4. Crocker now to the inside at turn 1 and picks off Hilbrandt for the 12th place position. Kevin Foster, Ethan Sikorsky, 2 more cars in the pit road. Holy cow, thought he was about to turn himself across the nose of that 92 Supra. Hilbrandt's not going to go back on the offensive into turn 3.
You're going to have a live spotter. I would not have said clear in that moment if I'd been up in the spotter stand. But hold on, there's a car on the apron. A little late for that. That's the 31 machine down there. But he's got it all worked out. But now we're hearing more cars pitting out here. The 77 down pit road this time.
Jason Greenwell is in as well. And then, of course, you mentioned the 77. That is Amanda Sherman, who is going to look to come down pit road as well. Amanda Sherman, one of those, again, late comers into the game. Her husband, Corey Sherman, has been here since the season opener. She's been putting down some pretty good performances so far as well, despite the late appearance, and she has put herself into not the worst spot in terms of overall championship so far. I mean, to try to track down where she's at right now, but I mean, it hasn't been the worst of runs for Sherman. She could very well still be get back into the fray here. Only 3 starts, 35th place in points out of 52. That's not a bad stat.
And hey, listen, right there, in my opinion, the best pit stall right there, or maybe the second best pit stall right there, to be first on pit road. Get down there, and now you get this whole pit road. You get to kind of track out and not worry about anyone. Maybe the first pit stall is best, but I like that pit stall Amanda had right there. That was pretty cool to get out there first and just get in your stall, know where it is, not have to be weaving in and out of a lane of cars. So now wait for her to get up to that blue cone. Man, now pit road's busy. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 cars down pit road all at once here.
Word from race control, by the way, Amanda Sherman apparently lost a tire on that last run, which is why she had to pit exactly where she did, and now they're speculating some drivers might not be too safe on fuel. I'm not sure why they'd go for a fuel gamble this early on, but I mean, they might be trying to maybe cut out an extra splash and go right at the tail end. It's been a viable strategy before. Oh, Austin, that's playing with fire there. You got a little bit of leeway when you're coming down and into your box, but I wouldn't want to test it that far out of the boxes there.
No, you don't want to get the hole too far back, too far forward. Do the hokey pokey, turn yourself around bit. The iRacing will give you sometimes, but yeah, that news about Sherman popping a tire, that's not something you hear a lot of in iRacing, Nolan, but it does happen when you maybe just a little too aggressive on the tires, and it's hard to control, so props to Amanda for getting down pit road.
Holy
cow.
Here's
a battle.
Austin Edstrom takes the lead out of pit road.
Wow. I was looking at pit deltas here for a second. I want to find them here when they go by, but we'll wait and see if that's got to be impressive for Edstrom here.
Time in the box was 14.68 seconds. For Thorpe, it was 15.12. He was half a second shorter on his pit stop run.
Now, we'll wait and see what that means later, Nolan. We'll wait and see if that means someone's playing a gamble right now. Did someone gamble on gas a little bit, or did someone just get in their box better? We'll wait and see how that run, what this run tells us. But that's the first time tonight that, I think Michael Thorpe's lost it once before, but we'll see how fast he can get it back here on the track.
Take another look at this. This is actually a whole pass that he made on the racetrack and on the apron. You don't see that every day. Thorpe did beat him off of pit road by just a little bit. Austin Edstrom immediately swung to the high side. There's a tiny little bit of banking transition, a couple degrees there, and he was able to use that to overtake him for the net race lead.
And that takes confidence, that takes skill, that takes a little bit of everything to do that move right there, because one small slip of a tire and you're up on the apron and in trouble. But hold on, here's the pass back. Now Thorpe down the bottom. Thorpe said he loves his track, just loves how dirty it gets, how just you have to work your way around here. But that's what he's doing right here, side by side for the lead. And tell you what, don't look now, Nolan, but if they keep racing like this, Austin McGill will be back in this camera shot in no time due to that side-by-side racing.
Still down to the inside. Oh boy, bit of netco contact. Austin Edstrom keeps it off the fence. Thorpe still hanging it down to the low side. Edstrom tracking around the top shelf right in that middle groove that's been rubbered in. Quite a bit of speed to be found there, and he is still dead even with them as they cross the stripe.
As we're going to show you that all that loose and all that slide that Edstrom has up top shows how aggressive he's being about not losing the lead, how much he doesn't want to be back in P2, how much he doesn't want to be in that dirty air. That's why he's pushing so hard every time through there. Man, that was up against the wall. My goodness, look at that.
Playing with a little bit of fire here. Thorpe.
This is the most dangerous part right here.
Oh my goodness.
This is the most dangerous part when you're racing like this, because now you get a car at your back quarter panel if you are Thorpe. And then when you're not side by side, it's harder to judge your clears and not clears for both cars, in fact. But now that they got it worked out, now Thorpe clearly has the lead. He's got Edstrom behind him, but now he's got lap traffic right in front. Earlier you asked about a danger of how we get a caution. Lap traffic could be a good candidate for that yellow flag if in fact we do get one.
It's never too far away, is it? And we're kind of in the thick of it now. Only 25 cars remain on the lead lap out of the 35 that started this race. Michael Ashmore got hit with a speeding penalty, so he is currently down in pit road. So all 35 cars are still in the running order, but about a quarter of them now are off of the lead lap. Oh,
Well, hold on.
boy.
Contact. That was scary right there. Man, oh man, this is getting lively as the time goes on. That was the 19 machine right there. That was Corey Sherman we saw with that bit of contact. Had to go check the name. Sorry about that. But Corey bumped off that car just in front of the leaders. Let me tell you what, Nolan, when you're a leader of this race, the last thing you want to see is a lap car making contact with someone.
And William Turnbull, I think, kind of had a little bit to say in why that contact took place. He was a bit slow off the pace, just trying to let all this lead lap traffic through. That's why sometimes it's not the best idea to kind of lift out of the throttle, especially when they're in an active battle pack. That's why in sports car racing, right, they tell you don't try to get out of the way. Just hold your line. They'll find a way around you. A little bit different for stock car racing, but same principle.
Really. I don't know. Yes and no. I get what you're saying, but no, be predictable. It is the responsibility of the passing car to make the clean pass. I don't care if it's sports car racing, stock car racing, Indy car racing, dirt racing, you know, whatever it is. That's how sort of the unofficial law works. Is it's the leader's job in this case to get around you safely. When you try and get out of the way, you're often more likely in the way of the leaders. Now, what's happening right now, though, in the case of Michael Thorpe and why he's probably frustrated. Listen, in his mind, he's saying, gosh, these guys are a lapped car, they're slow, they're this, they're that, move out of the way. These guys are saying, no, we're racing for something. We're racing not to be the first car lap down. We're possibly racing for spots. We're going to race as hard as we can and pray to whatever deity we believe in, and the yellow flag comes out.
I think it comes down to a bit of common sense at the end of the day, right? I mean, if you got the leader to your inside like Lakey's got right now, I wouldn't be going out of my way to try to race against Thorpe once he's gotten by me, right? I mean, once he's clear to complete to the pass, I feel like at that point, might be best to just give it up. Let him try to run down your opponent in front of you, so then he's going to be put off balance. And of course, there's just no point in trying to fight second place at all when you're a lap car either. You mentioned Austin McGill. He has been able to reel in a little bit of time with this, the number 99 entry. Back to third, and right now within 3.5 seconds of the leading pack.
Yeah, earlier that thing numbers up well above 4, so he's just slowly reeling it in, and he's benefiting from that lap traffic is what's going on right here. Every time Thorpe has to lift or take a different lane or bob and weave around this traffic, that allows McGill to get a little bit of a move here. But look at this, the good news for Thorpe now, look at that. That's now a 2-car moving chicane between himself and second place. And now, right now, if you were Edstrom, you have to find a way around those 2 cars before you get back to the leader of this race. So good news for Thorpe here, but now look back through the field as we see lots and lots of races going on. There's Wareham with that tribute car. Lots of exciting things happening here at Vegas.
The tricky thing that Edstrom's got right now is these are 2 drivers that are fighting for the lucky dog spot. If a caution comes out, one of them is going to get it. Now, you can't be involved in the wreck. That was the problem. But how about this? Wareham trying to unlap himself now from Michael Thorpe Jr. So finding some extra pace, and that's good for Austin.
That's scary for Thorpe, is what it is. If Thorpe is like, man, where did this come from? Why are you doing it? You're a lap down, but there it is. There's Wareham. Doesn't want to rely on the lucky dog. Wants to see if he can get around this and do it himself, and he has for now, Nolan. He's now currently the last car on the lead lap here. And hey, that's also good news for that other car involved. It means now you are the lucky dog, guaranteed. And now Edstrom will be a little bit more aggressive about making the pass because this car has nothing to race for.
Oh, contact off of turn 2 down the Nella straightaway. Edstrom able to gather it up. That'll cost him a 10.5 though, and now I think Austin's going to get a little bit frustrated with all of this, and I don't blame him, right? It goes both ways though, because Lakey's focus is still on Wareham up the road. This is just the challenge, though, of getting a whole bunch of cars that are, you know, in the midst of battles with one another. Now Ezra's trying for the high side to get around. I can see both angles of it, but Austin's got reason to be frustrated. But Lake has also got reason not to let him take it easily.
I mean, in a sense, yeah, I get what you're saying, but right now, if you're Austin Edstrom, you're thinking to yourself, dude, you know, you're the lucky dog. Like, the other car is well ahead of us. You know, get out of the way. And the problem for Edstrom is every time he's going a different lane, every time he's going up top or way down low or off of his line, he's burning up tires that, frankly, he doesn't have the time to burn up on. But there was a little bit of wall contact from Edstrom. So this race is going from bad to worse very quickly for Edstrom. Right now, Lakey's just in the way here. And listen, I agree, though. If you're Lakey, you know, you're racing for something. You don't think you're slow. You're on pace. And just has that tunnel vision of race car driver. I mean, he is really just parking in front of Edstrom at times.
We're We've still got other battles up and down the field. Derek Paulson, Connor Gibson, Kilroe, Williams, Keithley, and more all under a blanket as well. This fight is still not giving up anytime soon. There's still a long way to go as well. With one round of pit stops underway, this race, it's not about to go away.
No, nothing's going away here. This thing has been fast the whole night through. Look at this, already at lap 92 of 135. And it's, you know, you and I had to talk pre-race, Nolan, about how we've, went caution-free last week, but maybe there were some concerns about cautions in the past. Some of the drivers in pre-race who I talked to were concerned about how much, could this race be a disaster? Could it be, a caution fest? And that was some concerns I heard when talking to the drivers. And so far, knock on wood, here we are about 75% through. All is good so far.
So you still got a little ways before our final pit stop window of the afternoon. We're going to take ourselves with a real quick step back. We'll give a thanks to, once again, the guys that helped keep the lights on here for the High Tide Racing League. We'll be back with the remainder on Green Flag TV in a moment. Welcome back to Green Flag TV. Well, we almost got our first yellow flag about three-quarters of the way into this race. If you're just joining us, my name is Ola Bramble alongside Derek Watson. Michael Keithley, Derek, having this wild moment coming off of turn number 4.
You know what? No need for the groundskeepers to come out tonight, Nolan, to watch this ride it through the grass. I know Farm Sim 25 comes out tomorrow on Steam, but man, he picked up a plowing contract tonight and has mowed that grass. It's freshly cut.
It's practice. He got some help too. Got a little bit loose, and then Crocker finished the job.
Ooh. Listen, all kidding aside, I was making a joke here, but I want to say that's an incredible job at the 35. There is something. It's almost hard to put into words, Nolan, how difficult it is to hold onto that car through the grass at full speed, because that thing bounces, it jumps up and down, it's kind of wiggling back and forth. You're kind of wagging like the tail of a dog through that grass.
We might have just had somebody down on the low side of the back straightaway. I think John Osborne, he hasn't hit the inside wall, but there was a lot of smoke, and one car flashed out of screen.
That's a slow car right there. That's a beautiful, bright car right there. I was trying to find another word for it, but I couldn't. And so there's some upset drivers right now about this contact. Let's watch it again here. Coming through the bottom of the track here. Track up. I don't see anything.
Right
hold on. There it is. And that's a good ride.
Good job. That could have been disastrous for that number 5.
And that re-entry right there is why we saw the slow car. When you re-enter like that, you have to be off the gas, almost holding the brakes so you don't slide it back up the hill. So that's why we saw him slow when we came back live in that shot. So explains that. A little bit of contact there. Help him out. Watch this from this replay here. This is from the Tide ride.
That's from about a lap prior.
Let's try this again. Let's see if we can find the replay here. We're going to come down the straight. That's not it. Let's try a different angle from the Tide ride. Nope, not it either.
This should be it coming down through 1 and 2.
All right, let's see what we're going to get here then. Watch this. It's going to get all of a sudden. Boop. Look how close that wall is. Man, he could have reached out there with a paintbrush and put some new color on that wall, couldn't he?
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, that would have, well, on the plus side, you would have a nice bright orange marker so you know where the cross gate is.
Right? Yeah, that would have been an unfortunate spot to hit, but wow, what a great save right there. Now back live here now, lap 101 of this race, and lots of things going on. There's another car down pit road. Again, for the first time, Ty Marasco, and as far as I know, I'm going to go back and check this privately, but I think a pretty calm pit road entrance for the first time for the number 1 machine.
I don't know. I'm seeing Ty Marasco crashed on my screen. So
Right.
he might have had a calm entry after, but that's not the line.
No, never mind.
And that's penalty for unsafe entry.
Also, yeah, going to be, I don't see it, weirdly enough, being assigned to him from race control, but I don't see how it's not. So we'll keep an eye on that later. But he's now 2 laps down in this race. So a notable race for Ty Marasco. It's not in the most positive ways.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, 55 seconds. I'm willing to bet that he had to serve that when he was in the middle of getting all of his service done. He was in the box for about a minute. That's a 1-lap stop and hold for sure.
Well, now we got Michael Keithley coming down pit road. So pit stops maybe for the final time tonight are underway. So you see a few cars coming down. You see that purple car in the background. And so cars now possibly for one last time, 4 tires and gas. Now, per my estimations, Nolan, did 1 stop, 2 stop, 3 stop. I believe there's 3 additional sets of tires in this race. Nobody would have tires left, right?
You'd think not. We do have Matthew Chastain down low. Couldn't quite catch it on that angle, but he was stopped against the inside wall. So we're starting to get problems mounted as well. Potentially some fatigue setting in.
Hold on.
That's
flag,
hardware.
Yellow flag, yellow flag, yellow flag is out.
Oh.
I don't know if it's for this. I didn't get a cause yet.
There you see him down there on the inside.
Oh, there he is. Yep, that's going to be it. So caution is out. This will change a couple things. It'll help Ty Marasco in a way. If he is down there fixing damage, now he can fix it under yellow. But for those cars like Keithley that just pitted, they're in an unfortunate spot.
So, yeah, that is definitely a hardware failure for Matthew Chastain. You can even see on that angle about how much that wheel was just turned dead lock. And the yellow flag is because he is still sitting there. So I think Chastain's trying to get something righted here. He probably, from the looks of it, I think he lost the steering wheel controller on that car. I don't think that's quite a VR failure.
Yeah, that's curious to me. I want to keep an eye on that because the only reason I think that out loud is typically, and I know each brand is different, but let's watch pit stops first. And I'll come back to that thought. Here's Michael Thorpe. Remember last time Thorpe lost the battle on pit road to Edstrom's. Right now they're both down pit road here. More drivers will be coming down, I would imagine. This will be the last set of tires for everybody. Let's see if Edstrom can pull it off again, Nolan. Can he win this battle off of pit road again? And what did he learn last time about how not to get past?
He is closer this time when he came down to pit road. Last time it was about half a second back still. Up on the jacks. There's the rights. And there's going to be the lefts. So Thor will be the first one out of pit road. Austin's got to be aggressive. You're getting on the power. Not going to get there. Thorpe maintains the lead.
And unlike last time, there's no green flag racing here, so Edstrom cannot get up on the banking and make that pass. They're stuck in spot here. Where they put it. Everyone's been down pit road, by the way, here. I think let's watch the ticker here. Yep, lap 106 is about where we are. I see in my screen Zachary Wareham maybe hasn't pitted yet.
He took the lucky dog.
Okay, that's why. Thank you very much for that. He is the lucky dog, so we'll keep an eye on that. But let's come back to that talk about hardware failure. The only reason I'm suspicious, Nolan, let's watch it on board here. Watch 2 factors. We'll talk about. Oh yeah, you're right. That wheel locks hard to the left. The only reason I was suspicious, and I know it's a brand by brand issue or feature, if you want to call it that. Most wheels lock to the right. I know the Logitech's lock to the right for sure. So I was a little suspicious at first when I saw it to the left because I know most wheels, for some reason, lock to the right. I don't know why, but you're right. That hard lock to the left. So if that's not a wheel failure, that's a full PC failure or something of the ilk.
Well, you can see the wheels sort of turning a little bit inside that race car. You also heard him get off the throttle and even getting on the brakes as well. So there was something that you saw. In fact, you saw him lock up before he hit the inside wall. So something in there was working. It's not a full wheel failure.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, just a partial failure thing. Maybe combined with the screen blacking out or something like that. Just
Yeah,
pull
that's
it
what
to the
I thought
inside there
too.
again.
Because the instinct of a sim racer, typically, when we have like a VR go black or a screen go black, you want to throw it to the left because you know the left is inside, and realistically, less people should be harmed by you going to the deep to the inside than swinging it to the right. So, it's something we can follow up on. Maybe I'll try and figure it out here as we go green and see if I can get a word on what happened. But I think it's maybe not a wheel failure because of the lock to the left. But we'll wait and see if we can find out.
It's a hardware failure of some sort. We know that much.
Yeah.
So, Ford right now is the leader. There's about a dozen cars in front of him. Now, this is a mixture of cars that might be pitting under caution here, or they're staying out deliberately because they've already come down to pit road, and they have to do this in order to avoid going a lap down for the restart. Now, though, we have our first yellow flag, right? And less than 30 laps to go. So there's no strategy anymore. There's no fuel saving. There's no tire saving. You just push hard to the end from here. I think we might not be done.
Well, as much as I hate the old phrase, I mean, you know, the phrase is cautions breed cautions and aggression breeds cautions. And that's what we're going to have here now because everyone now knows how many laps you have left. That's not a mystery. So we'll wait and see who gets aggressive here and how fast they want to be aggressive because, listen, we are where we are. I think everyone's out of tires. 3 tire changes is what we had to start the race. As far as I know, everyone's done 3 unless I got bamboozled on a couple pit stops. So you have what you have. Now it's time to go use it.
I agree. I think tire strategy is completely over. You're out of tires from now. The goal for the tire strategy entering the season was they wanted to give them just enough to make it 1 set per every fuel stop that you need to make in the race. I think that's fair.
It's fair. If it were me, I mean, as a driver, I always want more tires.
Oh, of course.
You'll never talk me out of that, right? Yes, please, more.
Some leagues, the SRA Truck Series that's going to kick off with the winter, they do 1 less than every fuel stop to force a fuel-only pit stop and increase strategy games.
Let's go green here. And after we go green, we're going to talk to Matthew Chastain live, by the way, Nolan. We'll get the answer to the question, but let's get this green flag out first.
Green flag going to be up in the air this time by into the Geico restart zone. We are back to racing action in Sin City.
As Nolan said, here we are live again. Everyone's going to be able to putt a little bit more aggressive. But, man, look at that jump that Thorpe got now. A new car up to P2. That's McGill. Hasn't been up in P2 in a long time. Nolan, it's Thorpe, McGill, Edstrom, Schuer, and Lacey, top 5.
Yeah, so far the top 3 breaking away pretty easily single file. Austin Edstrom trying to make the look to the inside for the number 2 spot. Thorpe under 5 for the lead as well as McGill. Oh, caution is out. Big crash off of turn number 4. Multiple cars around into the infield.
They're still wrecking, right? There's still a car sideways. That's the 25. That's Tyrell Baker. Now got it turned around. Well, there you go. We'll score 1 for Nolan Rimple on the commentator curse because that was a caution. Let's watch it again here. They're going to come out of the corner. Going to get way up high. Oh, just turned himself across Baker's nose, I believe.
Almost looked like he got a little loose as well. Mars spun in the racetrack. Corey Sherman with the huge wreck avoidance through the infield. And then that's Baker sliding back out onto the racetrack. I don't think that's as bad as I thought it was. I thought we had about 5 or 6 spinning around. That might have just been cars scrambling through the infield, though.
It could have been way worse, right? When you wreck right there in the middle of the start-finish line with all that smoke. That's the hard part of a wreck. There's a little bit of extra contact at the end of the 23. But when you get all that smoke thrown up in the start-finish line and you're back in that field like that, Nolan, it is impossible to see what's ahead of you. Yep, just kind of tried to clear himself off the nose, and you're right, all things considered, I mean, for the most part, a pretty clean wreck, if you can use that phrase, as the caution is out. Well, Nolan, let's take a second here. I want to bring in Matthew Chastain. Now, Matthew, unfortunately, you had a moment here in the race a few laps ago on the infield. So I'm going to ask you directly. We kind of speculated, but what happened here to this car? We had Matthew, maybe we don't. Matthew Chastain. Don't have a Matthew. We'll wait to see in a moment if Matthew shows up here or maybe he gets his microphone problem fixed. But Nolan, that was a nasty wreck there. So you're right, cautions, breed cautions. One more time, Matthew Chastain, you there? No. All right, well, we'll check in with Matthew, maybe see if he is available in a moment for comment. Let's see which one of us is right about what kind of hardware failure it was.
You got to look on board right at the tail end of that with Corey Sherman as well from his helmet camera as he shot right through the middle of that wreck and had a very close call. Easily could have been a lot worse for him. 25, I'm not the best at math, so forgive me for this. I think 25 laps to go right now. Might be 24 coming to the line. And I think it'll be about 23. We take that green flag.
And the problem is that every time we have a caution, that number rapidly decreases. And every time that happens, the aggression is going to pick up. It's sort of a cause and effect. It's a horrible, vicious circular reference of sorts, right? Because every time a caution happens, you think you have to be more aggressive next time because that lap count is decreasing.
It's a self-feeding cycle, and that's why every single league admin dreads Martinsville. Because, boy, that track is the embodiment of caution and sprint cautions. Take a look again. It's a weird incident. It looked like both cars are getting a little bit loose, and they just came together.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, you know, both cars, it's always kind of easy to pin it on the car on the bottom who's coming up. But you're right, it could be a mix of both in that moment there. But, boy, what a scary moment that was for the rest of the field. And you're right, what a great job it was keeping that clean for the most part.
Coming up on Green Flag TV over the next few weeks, the Beer League has round number 5 of 9 at Rootscogan Motor Center coming up on Wednesday night at 9:20 p.m. Eastern Time. The Speed Cup Series ready to close out the 2024 calendar year and their third season of competition at the Phoenix Raceway at 9:15 p.m. And then on Saturday night, the SRA Mini Stock Series back out to party. Only 3 races remain. 3 points separate the points leaders as they enter Oxford Plains Speedway, one of the longest races on the season. For the Whitlock 150, that'll be at 7:55 p.m. Eastern Time over on Saturday night. And of course, you got other big events like the Butt Kicker Indianapolis 500 for the Classic IndyCar Series coming this Sunday afternoon as well. So there's a lot to be excited about coming on up, and notwithstanding the end of this race.
Yeah, lots of exciting action happening here across this channel all week long. And yeah, right before we get to anything else, before we get to the open wheel stuff this weekend, we got to settle who's going to win here. I mean, right now, the hands-on favorite's Michael Thorpe. He's been up there all night long. But let me say a car back there in P6 of Lacey, Benjamin Lacey. He told me tonight earlier, said he felt good. So he loves Vegas. He was stoked. And his goal tonight was a top 5. Well, currently he is 1 spot away from the goal and only 5 spots away from the ultimate goal of winning this race.
Benjamin Lacey, of course, was the Season 1 champion in this race, and he was set to be a Final Four contender as well in the last season. He has 11 race wins. He is the winningest driver in the High Tide Race League. Second is Nick Nickerson and Aaron Smith tied at 7 wins apiece, and everybody else 3 on back. So Lacey is a driver that can get those wins, but he just hasn't had the luck he's needed to go his way this season. So far, he is winless. He does have 1 win so far. Looking for 2 this afternoon. Pace cars down to pit road. We're ready to go to green with 22 laps to go.
Here we are back green again. Look at that incredible jump that Thorpe got on McGill and Edstrom. And now Thorpe's going to jump up top and try to kind of kill that run he thought McGill may have had. But now back through the field, they're too wide for most of the camera shot you can see there, Nolan. Everyone's going to try to get every spot possible, at times being 3 wide down the back straight.
It's an intense drive for a lot of this field. You can see drivers scrambling, looking for 2, looking for 3. The 8 car, a little bit loose. That's Foster. John Osborne slipping up. The 84 of Lakey's out of control. 4 wide down the front stretch, and around goes Keithley hard into the wall.
Oh, there's Keithley and other cars we saw going into the wall. There's a hood.
We got one over.
Down there.
I think Paul Satmary just rolled it.
Wow. Well, you and I did this thing where we talked about how clean of a race this had been, and it has been. And listen, this is part of racing. You can't get mad about this stuff. Let's watch it again first. Look at this 3 wide racing that went on forever. And lots of contact back and forth. That Tide Ride is going to come down. No, the Tide Ride was good. Sorry, it's the 25. Oh, man, right there. Making contact with the 8. How does the 24 get? Oh, hello.
Wow.
That's a 1.
Holy
That's
cow.
not even a barrel roll. What? I don't know what you. Oh, hold on. There it is. 1, 2, 3. 3 full flips. No, hold on. I lied.
4.
4. And man, look at the impact. And Simone Biles, eat your heart out. There's some bounce and no steps right there at Vegas.
This one's going to be at speed. This is a violent wreck for Satmar. That's one of the most violent hits we've seen taken all season long. That's a T-bone shot directly to the door. Nearly cleared the catch fence with that.
And man, the unfortunate part for the 24, Nolan, is it from his point of view, the contact happened. He had split the contact and was good. You're like, I got it. I don't got it. That's the kind of moment you have in that car. Because I guarantee if we get an onboard from the 24, he thought he was clear. And he is as surprised as anyone that he's, I mean, just up in the air, upside down.
Who's that?
Got the nose face on the ground. Wow.
Is that Keithley that had ran into him, I think?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, so watch this here. Down low here. Keithley mostly got it saved, actually, right there. I thought he was going to go nose first, but he actually got it saved, and then...
It was Guzik.
Okay, it wasn't Keithley. Keithley started damaged here. Man, that's a violent wreck. I mean, that's just hard hitting. Even if you're a sim racer, man, just the way that jolts your wheel, the way that just catches you off guard, the way that bums you out as a driver when you're having a good night, and that's what ends your night. Those are hard ways to end a race.
At speed. This is with Satmar.
Oh, I hope that's not in VR.
That's some wild height on that as well. I think I would say to be the wildest flip of the year if we didn't get that one with Keithley at Daytona where he barrel rolled about 24 times out of turn 4. I mean, that definitely takes the cake for one of the wildest ones, though. I mean, just from the height alone.
And something to be said, by the way, I know we kind of talk about sim racing and how, there's no harm, there's no danger, but depending upon the type of wheel you have, especially if it's a direct drive wheel, Nolan, when you hit a wall like that and you get barrel rolling, if you're not careful, you have to let go of your wheel because that thing can jolt back and forth, and that could really mess up a finger. So you saw it when he started barrel rolling, does not touch the wheel, wasn't moving. I think that's because he just kind of let go and let it happen. Watch this here. It's a beautiful view. Maybe we're going to hit a piece of the car. Hold on. Look at that. Hey, there's a car barrel rolling here. Someone reported that. Is what he's got to be thinking as he goes on by.
He almost got enough height of that one to end up on the Nellis Air Force Base radar.
I know it's not that time of year yet, but he could end up on the Santa NORAD tracker with how much height he got there.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary. Well, here we are, working now our third caution. But I thought maybe wasn't possible. I thought we'd have this thing green and almost be done. Have this thing wrapped up by now doing interviews. But here we are, third caution around. Still waiting to get word from Matthew Chastain that he's got his microphone problems fixed. We'll see if we can get that worked out for him and get word from him. But, you and I have talked about this track all night long, Nolan, about the events it holds here, the amount of racing it's held. It was opened back in 1971. My favorite thing about this track, when it was first, I guess, opened, it wasn't called the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It was called the Las Vegas International Speedrome. They called it that till 1990, 1971 to 1990, the Las Vegas International Speedrome. That it sounds so like futuristic and like really almost, I'll say it, bad, like cheesy 1970s Star Trek, doesn't it? Like that's just, let's go to the Speedrome. I don't know. I'm glad they changed that.
Well, I mean, you got as well the Australians. They literally have a racetrack called the Thunderdome, and I mean, yeah, I'm not complaining. I mean, that sounds like a great name to have. Imagine getting to say that every week as the track announcer. Welcome to the Thunderdome.
Just kind of wait for like Mad Max to come out, right? Just to kind of set the thing there. But yeah, this track is great. I said it's provided lots of great racing tonight, lots of great racing across the series. And man, here we go. So we only got a few laps to go. 17 laps according to the ticker. We'll wait and see here. All right, now I think we have Matthew Chastain. Let's find out. Matthew, are you there? Oh, I hear him micing up. Matthew.
Yes, sir.
There you go. He's live. So Matthew, if you get ready to go green here again, I'm going to ask you. So Nolan and I both suspect you had some kind of hardware failure. What happened there to cause you to hit that inside wall?
Yeah, so I have the Fanatec V2.5. I have the little screw that holds the actual steering wheel to the actual motor. Came loose, my steering wheel popped off, and I just cranked to the left. Really sucks because I had the best run this year so far in this league, High Tide Racing, running 56 all night, and for that to happen, it's really bad, really sucks.
That does suck. I'm sorry to hear that. And we talked a moment ago about how dangerous it can be the wheels as far as direct drives and getting fingers caught or everything. Are you okay despite the wheel being disconnected and slamming the wall and everything?
Yeah, fortunately, when it broke, the actual wheel came off, so it spun without the steering wheel connected to it. So it didn't catch any fingers or anything. Completely fine, just heartbroken. That's it.
All right, bud. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully we'll see you next week, and good luck, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you. You guys have a great night and great rest of this race as I'm watching it here.
All right, thanks, Matthew. That is the driver of the 12 machine, Nolan. So there you go. We were both kind of right, and it was a hardware failure. It's not one item was predicted. The wheel came off, not the whole base, just the wheel from the base there in that Fanatec base, and it swung to the left.
And now looking for double file for the race lead. Austin McGill and Michael Thorpe Jr. going at it, and you saw a very close call as well, deeper in the field with drivers like the 21 entry. It was a tight grudge match. Whoa! Thorpe way side was at a 4.
Wow, that was scary, wasn't it? But the first time tonight, he's middle 3 wide here, and this is a tough thing to do in iRacing, whether you have a spotter, triples, VR, whatever. To know how far you are from each car can be difficult. But here's McGill up to the lead for the first time tonight.
Austin McGill leading his first laps of the afternoon. Want to real quick try to get a look back. Look at how many cars side slap the outside wall. This happened coming down to the back straightaway, though. In the midst of all this, you know,
squeeze that car.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, this is just, it was complete pandemonium. And this happened right around the middle of the field, right there. You see Corey Sherman duck to the inside and immediately up to the outside wall. The 13 and John Osborne were bouncing back and forth. That was Karsten, the driver that's making his rookie start this afternoon. Could have been a nasty incident. We got more problems on the back straightaway.
Yeah, this is just a product of what this racing is. 12 laps to go. Everyone wants to get going. Everybody wants to move. Nobody wants to be left behind and lose a spot. So you're going to push harder than before, and that's going to cause some of the small contact. And then with this many cars, when a little bit of contact happens, people kind of scatter everywhere. That's the end of it right there. You saw the 92 in this picture, but there was some issues before that because you should not be down below the apron.
Oh,
straight on.
Wow.
92 split up. And that's what happened. The 92 split up and he's got bumped from behind by the car. He could not check up in time. And that's what caused that. But here now back to the lead. This is the driver who said he thought he could do well tonight, thought he could win. Michael Thorpe against, I guess, our Green Flag TV partner broadcaster and Austin McGill.
Thorpe slided up for the inside. McGill way up to the high shelf. Really tempting fate with the outside wall. Still 2 abreast as they work down the backstretch to turn number 3. 9 laps to go with the line. Season 1 champion Benjamin Lacey is back in the fray. He wants to go for win number 2 on the year.
Wow, if he didn't hit the wall, I don't know how he didn't. Nolan Lacey was up there tight against the wall. Remember, he said his goal tonight was a top 5. Well, currently he's beating that goal and has a victory right there in the front of his windshield. He can see it, he can feel it, he can taste it. It's right there, possible. Just go ahead and reach out there and grab it, Benjamin. It's yours.
And there you see Austin Etchell and Michael Thorpe Jr. really getting into each other. It's starting to get down and dirty here. Now, Thorpe is a driver that really lets that aggression come out in the latter stages of this race. Several times he's been caught in battles where he's been slamming off of drivers like it's 2003 at Darlington, trying to go for race wins. It happened at Dover where he took a big win in the Gen 4 championship for Season 2. It happened later that same season there at Smith at Darlington. And now it's very possible it could come to blows again this afternoon. For now, though, Austin Edstrom with a bit of connection issues to the outside of McGill. That's a tight squeeze. He's just going to get the hole in there.
Hey, also don't look now, but Kilroe is back there in P5. Their points leader is back in P5. He's snuck his way into his camera shot. Someone we've not talked about a lot tonight told me he has a couple wins in different various cars at this track throughout his iRacing career, and he wants to get another one tonight. Well, right now, he is not far off right there in that camera shot. Now down to the bottom of the turn is Kilroe. This is a 5-car fight with 7 laps to go.
And they've been 3 wide for an entire lap now for the lead of this race as well. Thorpe down low, McGill in the middle, and he's going to be forced to back out. Edstrom, I think his blinking issues were a bit too much for that 9-9 car to take, and he decided, you know what, this ain't worth the risk. So he backed off, let Edstrom go. Edstrom now to the lead of this race, down the back straightaway with just 6 laps on the docket.
Well, so these admins got to do something here soon, because that's not fair to the rest of the field, Nolan. It is not fair to have that blinking car up there leading a race because you don't know where he is. When you're 3 wide with Edstrom right now, are you 3 wide? That's the question you ask yourself as a driver. So I guarantee you Thorpe, McGill, Kilroe, Lacey, and others are all across that right now. But I think it's sort of settled off for the leader. We'll wait and find out soon. But man, 5 to go. And right now this is getting tight. It's getting tense. It's everything you could want from a race at Vegas right now. Here we are now. Watch this here. So it's Edstrom up front. It's Thorpe. It's McGill. It's Kilroe. It's Lacey. You got Williams back there. Crocker Jr.'s up to 7th. By the way, there's a name we used earlier.
4 laps to go. 3 wide further behind as well with Marshall Crocker Jr. You mentioned him already to the outside of Scott Shire and Dustin Ping. They're 3 wide. Looking for it down the Dallas straightaway, and now double file again for the top spot. Thorpe back to the inside of the 87 car for the GGA Esports crew, and Thorpe trying to see what he can do. Slides across the nose of Austin Edstrom, and now blocking big down the front stretch.
Contact almost between McGill and Kilroe, I believe that was. Now Kilroe, look at this, now wants to dive to the bottom here, and he's going to try to pass Thorpe. All of a sudden, at the last possible second, your points leader is back in the picture.
This is going to come right down to the wire, and no promises that we go to the checkered flag under green from here. Still have to go 2 more laps. Austin Edstrom leading the way still side by side. Dalton Kilroe's in the fray. He tucks in line for 3rd. 2 laps to go in Sin City.
Well, good news for Edstrom. That connection has leveled off, so he is no longer blinking. And everyone now having confidence of driving around him. Man, it feels like maybe some drivers just don't want to get up there, or maybe they let him go a little bit too much when he was having those problems. But Thorpe right now is going to come down this back straight for the penultimate time. And look how well Edstrom's doing, Nolan. Look at that. Right down to the white line there, coming to the white flag.
It's going to take a Hail Mary here for that 34 car, I think, to get him in line. Trouble 1 car round. Crocker sliding into the infield grass. Bouncing across. Corey Sherman is spun in the background as well. Back to traffic. Hard crash on the front straightaway. The 91st car got involved. Tony Hilbrand ducks to the inside. No yellow. Keeping it green. Down the Dallas straightaway for the final time. Thorpe's got to get something for him in turn number 3. I think it's too little, too late. And Austin Edstrom takes his first win in his high-tide career out of turn 4. More cars on the outside wall of the front stretch. Edstrom wins, and a big crash across the stripe.
We'll wait and see where they finish and who finishes where, though. There's a second massive wreck, a big impact here tonight. That was after the line, so that will not affect the results. But boy, for a race that was really calm and steady for 100 laps, oh, what an ending.
Austin Edstrom.
1.97 seconds. That's what it is from 1st to 10th place here at Vegas. 1.97 seconds.
Edstrom going for the high-speed burnouts in the front stretch as well. We'll obviously get a chance to look at everything that happened coming down to the white flag lap and what happened on the white flag lap as well. But for now, this 87 car pulling off a well-deserved celebration of the front stretch. He had to work for that.
Wow, what a moment for Austin Estrom. Stayed in the picture all night, stayed relevant all night, kept the pressure on, and made the passes when it happened. Congrats to the driver, the number 87.
Take a look on what went down on the final lap there. Well, coming to the final lap, we'll start with Corey Sherman, of course. One of the cars got spun round as he just
got loose. It looked like, oh, he really got hit, got loose, and really did a pretty good job at first. I think he's got on the gas a little too soon here. Nolan, and then, oh my gosh, who is that? Is the
Sikorsky.
The 9? Yeah, Sikorsky. But man, I think Sherman tried to get back in the gas to save it, and that's not the way you get it through the grass here. Now here's a second piece of impact. This will be coming to the line. Watch this here.
McGill tracked into
That's
Lacey.
Lacey up top. Behind him. Wall contact. Contact with the cars. Watch this hit right here. Oh, there it is. That hurt.
Derek Paulson took a hit as well. Further up the grid, he went into the inside wall as well, then back to the outside. Also 3 hard hits for the 6. Bob Berry got caught up in that as well. And all of this takes us to the close of what was a wild race number 9 as Austin wins the Drive Against Veterans Suicide 200. Let's take a rundown of your official race results after a barn burner here at Vegas. Edstrom with the win. Michael Thorpe Jr. just a quarter second back at the number 2 spot. Dalton Kilroy will close out the podium. Benjamin Lacey was in 4th. Austin McGill in 5th. Scott Shire in 6th. Brian Diesel 7th. Connor Gibson in 8th. Then it's Dustin Ping and Sean Williams with the top 10.
Back, you saw Derek Paulson finish there. He'll be P11 with Bob Berry in P12. Hunter Karsten finishes 13th with Marshall Crocker Jr. in P14 with Zachary Wareham behind him in P15. Then it's David Lakey, Jonathan Canfield, Nick Osipek, Tyrell Baker, and Tony Hilbrands finishing out the top 20.
From there, moving down to the field, it's John Osborne in 21st with Greenwell back in 22nd. Corey Sherman spun, coming to the white flag again after hard contact with Sikorsky. He'll be down in 23rd. Kevin Foster was 24th. Larry Bell crashed across the line in 25th. Ethan Sikorsky did not finish this race, so officially scored 1 lap down. Michael Ashmore was in 27th, also 1 down. Turnbull 4 down, with Satmary not finishing this race. And sorry, Michael Ashmore finished this race 4 down, with Turnbull being 6th. And then Ty Marasco not finishing this race either, back 20 laps down.
And we'll finish out Michael Keithley, Dawson Guzik, Tanner Marr, Amanda Sherman, and Matthew Chastain round out the 35-car field here in this race.
Boy, that was a wild one here this afternoon. And of course, we're going to get a chance now to give a chat to all of the drivers that finished this race up on the podium. Just trying to track down where Austin Estrom's hiding at. There he is. And we're going to bring all 3 of your podium contenders up. What a wild race, though, here this afternoon. And we'll start it off first and foremost with your race winner taking his first victory in his High Tide Racing League career. Austin Edstrom, you take win number 1. You never forget your first, and this is what you had to work for this afternoon.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever worked harder on the last 15 laps of a run than I did tonight. That was, I still can't believe I got to the outside 3 wide and was able to hold off Michael. He passed me back, and then we made some contact down the front straightaway. We were racing like crazy. I mean, if there's anything wrong and I crossed the line, I apologize, but I'll have to obviously watch it back. Just a lot of adrenaline in the last couple laps there. I heard I was blinking, so hopefully that didn't, win me the race. I'd feel really bad if, I got clear because I'm blinking like a Christmas tree. So, I'm going to watch it back too to see that. Hopefully that's not the case. But I know it was an issue, but hopefully it wasn't as bad as what I'm fearing.
Well, you had two strong finish positions now to kick off your High Tide Racing League career. You, of course, got a podium last week at Darlington. You take a win this afternoon. If this keeps up, do you reckon a top 10 and a playoff run might be a possibility for you?
Well, I did the math, and before the playoffs, if I average what I've been averaging, which obviously was just the second place last week, I would be pretty like 20 points short of 12th, I think, if they keep their average. So it'll be damn close if I can, keep this up. But I don't know if you can, guarantee a top 3 every week. So hopefully we can. If we can, then yeah, I'll give it a run.
We've, of course, been talking about how this schedule, it's far from an easy one. And, well, they call it the Tricky Triangle next week. It's a swing to the Keystone State. What do you think Pocono's got in store for you?
Oh, fantastic racetrack, man. And we're not in the ridiculous next gen cars, so it's not, just a draft fest. I'm looking forward to it. I think with the B car, it's going to be I think it'll be a lot of fun. The track's racy.
Well, Austin, congratulations on win number 1 of your High Tide Racing League career. Looking like it could very well be the first of many. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, buddy.
Austin Edstrom takes his first win of his High Tide Racing League career, and that will bring up the second place runner this afternoon. It's Michael Thorpe Jr. standing by with Derek Watson.
Well, Michael, you were that close to taking up residency in Winner's Circle tonight. And you and I talked pre-race, and you said, I think I can win here. And darn it, you came close.
Yeah, I mean, better to come close than finishing dead last. So, I mean, I've been having bad luck in officials since Vegas, so I'm glad I rebounded a little bit from that.
So I know we just talked to Austin, and he said, obviously he knew he was blinking for what you guys were saying. He was hoping it wasn't quote-unquote that bad. From your point of view, was it that bad?
It was bad, but it made it very sketchy being close to him. So, I mean, I backed off just a little bit, but not, enough to for him to pull away. I was just being a little bit too careful, I guess, and just, let him go a little bit more.
All right, well, listen, next week we move to the track, whether you think it has 3 turns or 5 turns or whatever you think. It's Pocono. What's your history at Pocono? Is it a Michael Thorpe kind of track?
I had some good finishes there. So, I mean, as long as I keep my head on straight and have a good run like I did here in Vegas, I think it'll be great.
All right, well, listen, great run tonight. It was awesome to see you race up front on it long, and we'll see you in 1 week's time.
Thank you.
All right, that is Michael Thorpe. Pardon me, drove the number 34 machine. I got my names mixed up here at the end of an exciting race, Nolan. But let's go ahead and now take on our points leader, and this is going to be Dalton Kilrow. Let's bring in Dalton. Dalton, what an amazing run you had tonight. You and I talked tonight earlier about having a couple wins in this track, and you came darn close to getting another one.
Yeah, was definitely a grind all night. That long green flag run, I felt like I had some pretty good speed. Was able to cut through the pack after messing up my second qualifying lap. Starting 23rd was not ideal. Probably could have started up in the, maybe knocking on the door of the top 5. Definitely in the top 10. So definitely put myself in a hole from the get-go, but was just glad I was able to keep the car clean and just try and stay consistent, hold my line, and capitalize on people making mistakes. And sure enough, was able to get up here and get a P3 tonight.
So one of the quotes I loved tonight when doing my research, you said, I don't quite know all the guys in this league yet. I don't quite know all the speed they have. Well, now do you think you have a better idea of what kind of speed exists in this league?
Yeah, I mean, I know we've got some pretty we've got a pretty wide skill margin, I'd say. But towards the top, oh my God, the top 10 here, given the right track, we can go out and win at any racetrack. Obviously it helps that Aaron Smith wasn't here tonight, because he probably would have waxed the field more than Thorpe and McGill and Edstrom were doing. But no, those cautions definitely were not ideal. But hey, it allowed me to capitalize on mistakes I probably wouldn't have had the chance to get. And sure enough, I'm just glad to have survived, because there was, when was it? It was about 35 laps to go. My neck started going into full muscle spasm mode, and it was like throbbing pain for about 25 laps. Luckily, before that last restart, it kind of calmed down a little bit to where I could actually go out and send it and make the moves I needed to make. So, yay!
Nice. Yeah, good job surviving there, right? So I've heard that you might have some reasons to have PTSD from the track we're going to next. We're going to Pocono next. I've heard there's an incident with you in a barrel roll at Pocono.
Yeah, that was I was coming out of turn 1. I believe it was the last lap of the race, and I think it was me and Lacey were side by side, and he got loose or something coming out of the corner, and that got me sideways, and then I just started flipping in that next gen, and it just kept going and going and going, and especially because I'm in VR, I was like, man, when is this ever gonna stop? But
right?
it almost didn't. So I hated that because I was still having a good run there, and I'm looking to have another good run next week. But you know, hopefully that don't happen again, because if it does, especially no fast repair, that's gonna suck.
That's going to suck indeed. Well, listen, great run tonight. It was a pleasure watching your race, and we'll see you next week.
10-4, man. Thank you.
All right, that is Dalton Kilroy finishing P3 tonight and that number 41 machine.
And that will bring us to a close this afternoon. Boy, I mean, we often get good races with the High Tide Race League, right? I mean, I've said it before. It's one of the most competitive Monday night series you can find out there. But this race tonight was something else. I mean, Green almost at the end, went past the three-quarters mark. Few cautions right at the end, but I still think we had a pretty darn good finish to boot. Austin Eschenberg taking his first win. That's going to be big to see if he can keep that momentum rolling forward into the next few weeks. Pocono's up next, though, Derek, and I mean, we both know the challenges that come with Pocono. They don't call it the Tricky Triangle for nothing. 3 different turns, each of them driven so much more differently than the last, different straight lengths. There really is no other track like it on the calendar.
No, and the truth is no driver is going to be perfect on all 3 corners, right? You're going to be great in 1 and 2 or be bad in 3. You'll be great in 1 and 3 and be awful at 2, or some variant thereof, right? So I'm excited to watch these cars go around that track next week. It's been a pleasure here. My first night, these guys have put on a show, and I'm excited for the rest of the season.
Still a long way to go here for the High Tide Racing League. Before we get to all of that, of course, on Wednesday night, we hop back across the pond to Europe, where the Beer League will be racing at the Rutskoga Motor Center around number 5. The Speed Cup Series closes out the 2024 calendar year for the Speed Cup Series at the Phoenix Raceway in Avondale, Arizona on Thursday night, with the SRA Mini Stock Series out to good old Oxford Plains for a 150-lap bout. Then, of course, Sunday, it's the doubleheader, Indy 500, followed by round 2 of the playoffs for the SRL Next Gen Cup Series. If you want to find out more about who we are, what we can offer you, you can check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com. Boy, this race was a wild one this afternoon, and we're going to be seeing what is all in store for us here over the next little while. My name's Will Rempel, alongside Derek Watson. We'll see you all next week in the Keystone State for another trip down to the Pocono Raceway.